Welcome back. On this channel, we narrate true urban stories. Enjoy. This is a story I do not often tell. I sincerely promise that it has scarred me for life. Although I have explored psychological and natural explanations for what I heard and what occurred, none of them have ever felt satisfactory. When I was a child, I was afraid of the dark. I told my mother that I heard voices in it. They were not evil, but they were unfamiliar, and that frightened me. It was not uncommon for me to wake up in the middle of the night and hear what I called whispers when I tried to explain them to her. She assumed they were just bumps in the night or typical childhood nightmare material. I tried to tell her it was more than that the voices sounded different from one another, the way people's voices do. On some nights, the whispers scared me so badly that I slept in my mother's bed. An added bonus was that the bathroom was directly outside her bedroom door, which made late-night trips easier. I should add that when you stepped into the hallway to go to the bathroom, you looked directly down the staircase that led to the living room on the first floor, as my mother's bedroom was on the second floor. One night around Christmas, I woke up needing to use the bathroom. As I stepped into the hallway, I distinctly heard the word "look." To my astonishment, a red light, almost like a spotlight, was cast on the wall at the bottom of the stairs. The light had no visible source. It simply existed, and I was transfixed by it. Being a little kid, and with Christmas only days away, I knew exactly what the light was. It was Santa. How else could he get into my house to know I had been a good boy? Excited, I started down the stairs. After the second step, I picked up my pace as the light began to creep off the wall and fade into the darkness of the living room. That's when I heard him. A strong, masculine voice, completely different from the first. It was nothing like my father's voice, not to say my father isn't masculine, but this voice was distinctly different. It said, "Stop. Right now. Go back up those stairs." I listened and turned around. What happened next is something I'm not sure I would believe if someone else told me this story. As soon as I reached the top of the stairs, I heard a violent crash. I ran back to my mother's bed, dove under the covers, and stayed there for the rest of the night. The next morning, we discovered that the poinsettia lights, small red Christmas flower lights my mother had wrapped along the stair railing, had been ripped down to the bottom of the stairs. Some were broken, as if torn loose by force, all lying in a single pile. The dry sink in the living room had been pulled from the wall. My mother couldn't explain it. My father feared we had been victims of a home invasion. My sister was crying. Nothing was missing. No one had broken in. There was no clear reason for what had happened. Then I saw something, and I said nothing, because fear completely stole my voice. On the edge of the wooden dry sink, which had landed face up, were 3 indentations where the finish had been worn away, as if something had gripped it tightly. Whatever was down there had grabbed it and thrown it. That was the crash I had heard. I was mortified. After that night, I never heard another voice. I don't like to imagine what might have been waiting for me downstairs. My house was built in 1904. It is a single-family home, wood frame setting on a concrete block foundation. I have been living here for about 12 years. Of all the weird things that my siblings and me have seen or heard in this house, this one event is my favorite. This happened to my brother. About 10 years ago, my brother and his best friends had started a garage band, playing mostly Spanish rock, alternative music, but in Spanish. His friends could only get together on Sunday afternoons. They would practice into the early evening. They would usually call it quits by 8 p.m. This was the time I usually showed up and went to bed, because I worked the graveyard shift. This happened in late fall, so the days were getting shorter. They had just finished a long session when the decision to head to someone else's house came about. My brother handed his car keys to his buddy so they could load up the equipment. Everyone had filed out of the basement. The tricky part was that they needed to walk all the way to the back of the basement, up the back stairs, through the kitchen doorway, down the hall, into the living room, and out into the front porch. Everyone was outside sitting in my brother's truck waiting for him. My brother was walking up the back stairs when he remembered that he had left his pancakes in a to-go container, sitting on a speaker in the basement. He made the decision to go back. Now the basement is not clean. With full sight lines, there had been partitions made, and the boiler and main heating unit are right smack in the middle. So after my brother walks back, he is about to retrieve his food container, when out of the corner of his eye, he sees it. It is a shadowy figure, right at his peripheral vision. This feeling of dread and uneasiness washed over my brother. We had been taught that if you are in the presence of a spirit or ghost and you felt a bad vibe, to say quick prayer or to cuss at it. My brother chose the latter. He basically just told it, "Hey, fuck you. I don't have time for this shit." My brother started to walk to the back of the basement and briskly up the stairs, closing doors and turning off lights as he was walking out. The last light switch is on the opposite side of the front door. Luckily, the door was open and the light from the street lamp was flooding the living room with its amber light. My brother said he felt something at his back, but at no point did he turn around. As he flicked the last switch, the living room went dark, as the rest of the house. As he stepped out, he pulled on the door, closing it behind him, still holding his food container in one hand. He jogged down the few porch steps. He walked towards the front gate. Our house resides far from the main street, essentially having a large front yard but no rear garage. As he closed the gap between himself and his friend-laden truck, he kinda smiled and thought things over in his head, mad at himself for spooking out when there was no reason. He climbed into the driver's side of the truck, putting on his seatbelt and getting ready to pull out of the parking spot directly in front of the house, when one of his friends asked, "Hey, wait, what about your brother? Isn't he coming with us?" My brother answered, "What do you mean? He went to work early tonight. He's already gone. Do you see his car anywhere?" The next question they asked, "So then who was walking behind you when you were leaving the house?" Thank you for watching. Always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We would greatly appreciate your support. Also, the spirit in your home awakens while you sleep. Good night, everyone.